Hey, Al.
Hey, Barry.
Where do 10-sided dice come from?
Where?
The percent aisles. It's time for a Compelled Duel bonus episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a Compelled Duel bonus episode. I'm Barry.
And I'm Al.
Here comes the groom, but he's not going in the direction he should be. Let's see what happens. Our camera smash cuts into the middle of absolute pandemonium. It is the dead of night on the docks at the shore of Lake Talos, which is the big, glassy lake outside the city of Velunthal in Australia. And shit is popping off. People are screaming, city guards are swarming. One Dominial Sandis is sitting very calmly with their back up against a dock post. Their hands in shackles, but not preventing them from smoking a cigarette and watching the carnage unfold. The captain, Pirate King of the Zephyr Isles, is locked in combat, wielding a snapped-off broom handle like a rapier. Mr. Zed Stonebloom is in the middle of a 5-on-1 fistfight that the city guards are trying to break up. And in the background, Verity, High Priestess of Kiva, one of the most important religious figures in the land, is hefting her staff over her head, ready to bonk it down on top of a city guard's head, yelling, "Don't fuck with me, pig! I'm a woman on the edge!" And just before she goes to bring her staff down, our camera freeze frames.
Do we really have to talk about this right now?
The scene changes abruptly. Zed, you are no longer involved in this fight on the docks. You are standing in an opulently appointed little side room somewhere in the palace at Velunthal, dressed to the nines, and more hungover than you have ever been in your fucking life. Laeril Stonebloom Valsine, your husband of about 20 minutes now, is sitting at a table with his elbows perched on top, fingers steepled in front of his mouth, just looking at you. Well, the reception doesn't start for another half an hour, so I would love to hear the story of how your bachelor party went and how it almost ruined our wedding, honey. Regale me! Spin me a yarn, Zed!
Zed winces, and then sighs. Alright, look, so it started like this.
As you tell your story, our camera goes into a very fast rewind, just backward versions of all of the chaos that you endured, and finally lands on you, yesterday afternoon. You're sitting with Leo at the big long table in the dining hall at the palace. He's dressed in resplendent archduke's robes, his circlet kind of crooked on his head. He looks a little bit manic as he is just pawing through piles of flowers that are stacked on the table. He grabs two and holds one up on either side of his face and goes, "Okay, daisies, daffodils, daisies, daffodils, which looks better with my complexion? Honey, are you listening?"
Zed is not, in fact, listening. He is just sitting there with his chin propped up in his hand, looking at Leo fondly. Nope, not even a little bit.
Leo throws a daffodil at your head. "Look, jackass, I wish as much as you do that we could just run off to the Zephyr Isles and elope, but unfortunately, you chose to marry a public figure. So take one for the fucking team, daisies or daffodils."
I mean, you look gorgeous with just about anything.
Roll insight.
24.
Okay, Leo can't mechanically roll that high to deception. You can tell that he's trying to look pissed off, but he blushes a little bit and kind of looks away bashfully and reaches out to kind of bat at your shoulder. Stop. Flattery will get you nowhere. You know what? No, black poppies. We're gonna do black poppies.
We sure are. And then Zed's gonna lean across the table and kiss him.
You and your fiancé are in the middle of a very schmoopy moment when the double doors to the dining hall burst open behind you. And echoing off the stone, you hear this bright, brassy, alto voice shout, "Zed Stonebloom, you great, beautiful bastard!"
I do not think Zed pulls out of the kiss with Leo. He just raises a hand and gives a wave.
Also still kissing you, Leo makes an exhausted noise. When you finally do turn around, though, there is a crowd descending upon you and Leo. Leading the pack, obviously, is the captain, who has elbowed past everybody else and is just making a beeline for you with this big, rakish grin stretched across his face, shark-like teeth glinting. Both of his wives, one Sabine Javaris and your future sister-in-law, Ferrora Valsine, are pretty hot on his heels, also heading in your direction. Back towards the door, you see your very good friend Ravain Sorel wrapped in a sturdy traveling cloak, and his partner Verity, who you have seen a lot of recently, given that she is the high priestess of Astraria's reformed religion. They're just sort of shepherding the rest of this crowd in. You see Fernandris Tormare and Mia Sandis walk in arm in arm, talking to each other about something. And bringing up the rear, you see Kalessa Petrus, who has dyed her hair bright, vibrant purple for the occasion and has a big fluffy plume in her Pirate Queen's hat to match, dragging a significantly more exhausted-looking Eleonora Ashthorne behind her. Leo smiles fondly as all of these people pour in, but then turns to give you a look that is just... You know, in Lord of the Rings, when they're in the mines of Moria and Boromir turns around and says they have a cave troll?
Zed turns with a significantly more focused wave and yells, "Hey, everybody!"
The captain makes it over to you first, and he's a good bit smaller than you, but in his enthusiasm, he almost pulls you out of your seat. As he does, like, one of those textbook bro hugs where he reaches out, braces his hand around your forearm, yanks you in, and, like, thumps his fist against your back a couple times. Various reunions follow. You see the captain go over to do the same thing to Leo. Fee leans down and gives you a little side hug. Sabine kisses you on the cheek. Fen and Mia are a little bit more hands-off. Fen just claps you on the back, and Mia shoots you 2 finger guns and a wink. Kalessa gives you a big bear hug and kind of rocks you back and forth before moving on to do the same to Leo. And your very best friend, Eleonora Ashthorne, comes over, kind of elbows you in the side, and then goes up on her tiptoes because she's very small, even though you're sitting down, to kiss you on the cheek. Congratulations, asshole. What kind of weapon did he have to hold to your head to get you down here looking over floral arrangements?
Zed snorts and then, with a very smarmy smile, says, that conversation involved a little more carrot than stick, if you get my drift.
Zed, there is something to be said for the fact that your best friend is the only other person you know that has slept with your fiancé. Eleonora raises her eyebrows, nods like she's understood the point, and shuts up. Everybody here is sort of just chattering to each other, catching up. Leo has looped Fee into his flower crisis. When suddenly you hear the captain clap very loudly and start rubbing his hands together. All right, bachelor parties!
Like a bloodhound, Zed's head snaps up.
The captain just points at you and grins. You both know what you're about. Oi, it's your last night of freedom, lads! What have you got in mind? Leo, who is in the middle of arguing about poppies versus petunias with Fee, kind of looks up, tilts his head to the side. I mean, I've got a lot to do for tomorrow, vis-a-vis facials and pedicures, and I could really use a massage. I think that's what I want to do. Maybe some wine? The captain, not even missing a beat, just puts up a hand at him and he goes, that sounds fucking awful, Zed!
I think we should fucking party.
He gives you this fucking feral grin and reaches out to clap you on the shoulder. There's a good lad. Eleonora takes a step back and puts both hands up. I've seen how you party. I'm not interested.
Uncalled for, but understandable.
Kalessa, smirking, hesitantly raises a hand. I'm interested. Off to the side, Fen and Mia kind of look at each other. Mia tilts their head and goes, what do you think, sugar? Fen kind of waffles back and forth for a second. I mean, pedicure sounds nice. Mia's lip curls a little bit. I can get behind a pedicure, but a pedicure with Leo is just a step too far. Zed, I'm with you.
Zed puts up the rock on sign and then pauses, squints at Mia for a second, and says, we're not gonna kill anybody. We can all agree on that?
I'll mind my P's and Q's if everybody else does.
Alright, no killing rule firmly established. You can come.
On the other side of the table, Sabine brings both hands up to press her fingertips against her temples and sort of rubs slow little circles into them. Okay, well, if there's a no-killing rule in place, I shouldn't be there because if I have to watch the captain get drunk and deal with the consequences, I might violate that. Leo, I'm with you. Fee, with about 4 different types of flowers in her hand, shifts back and forth a little awkwardly. I mean, I'm the matron of honor, so I'm sort of Leo's wingwoman through this whole thing. If I went with you, I'd be in trouble. And Leo goes, wow!
Zed nods in acknowledgement and says, alright, I feel like I know where this is going, but Ravana Verity?
Ravane runs a hand back through his hair and kind of rocks forward and backward on the balls of his feet. Well, you all know that I tend to mushroom out a little bit when I lose my self-control, so unless you want every venue we visit tonight to be covered in spores when we're done, I think it's best if I hang out with Leo. Right, babe? Verity stands there, very solemn in her priestess's robes. Zed, you've never really talked to her at length before because she always tries to analyze your birth chart when you do. But she looks over at you and back at Ravane and back to you and then shakes her head. Nah, I want to get wild.
Zed looks at her with surprise and a begrudging amount of respect and says, alright, we can do that.
So, with the flower crisis apparently resolved, you are all splitting into your separate bachelor party teams. Team Leo is Leo, Eleonora, Fen, Ravane, Fee, and Sabine. Your team is the Captain, Verity, Kalessa, and Mia. Your squad starts moving out of the dining hall back towards the front door of the palace, and Leo's squad sort of dissipates and moves upstairs until you and Leo are left alone in this dining hall again. He walks over to you and goes up on tiptoe to give you a quick little kiss and presses his hand against your face. Have fun. Be safe. I love you.
Love you too. Enjoy your spa night.
I'll do my best. And he turns around and walks upstairs.
We find ourselves in the Dragon and the Dulcimer, one of the city of Velunthal's most popular and arguably queerest bars. We find ourselves on the ground floor where the main bar is. There's kind of a dance area and a bunch of balconies up on the second floor. And our camera zooms in on a table where we see Mia Sondis sipping at an appletini, the Pirate King of the Zephyr Isles, the captain, lounging back against the surface of the table, and one Zed Stonebloom, the night before his wedding, furiously writing something on a cocktail napkin. Captain, what are you doing?
What I always do. I'm causing problems on purpose.
No, he's probably in the process of flagging down a cocktail waitress or something to get a round of drinks for everybody. He's not going to buy anything for himself because the captain doesn't drink Australian liquor because he thinks it's gross. He snuck a flask in under his coat for this exact purpose. But he is going to buy another appletini for Mia, get Kalesa and Verity whatever they want, and just splurge on a bottle of something top shelf for Zed.
The Dragon and the Dulcimer prides itself on being an equal opportunity gay bar, so you flag down a very attractive masked woman who takes your drink orders, gives you a wink, and then heads off to the bar. Zed does not even acknowledge what's going on. He is still writing furiously on this napkin.
The captain watches the waitress that just winked at him walk off, and just sort of folds up a cocktail napkin into a little paper football and flicks it at Zed's head.
Oi, Loverboy! If we all wanted to sit around and watch you write your great novel, we'd have had your bachelor party at the library instead of a bar. The hell are you even doing?
Zed looks up at you, wide-eyed, a little bit tipsy already, and goes, I forgot to write my vows.
Oh, lad, you're a bit late in the game, aren't you? Oh, I can see this all playing out tomorrow now. My beloved Lyra, I swear to you that... Oh, wait, nah, that's a whiskey stain.
Zed fully puts his head in his hands, still holding the pencil. I procrastinated, and Leo worked really hard to put the wedding together, and everything's going to shit, and he's gonna leave me at the altar.
For who?
Zed slumps further against the table with his head still in his hands. I don't know, a ghost, probably.
What?
Look, it's complicated. Leo had a ghost boyfriend for a while. That's not the point. You know he's already got his vows written, and they're gonna be beautiful and dramatic and all Leo-ish. And I'm gonna be standing there crying like a dumbass, and I don't have fucking anything written. So I'm just sitting here with a napkin trying to be emotionally vulnerable, which I'm great at.
I get that you're being sarcastic right now, but you're being quite vulnerable with us.
This is not emotional vulnerability, this is a word vomit.
The captain blinks at him a couple times and tilts his head to the side.
Right. Well, you're a bigger man than I am. I don't know that I could write anything about eternal devotion with all these attractive people in leather hot pants walking around. And with that said, I'll be having fun if you need me. Kalesa, shall we carouse?
From over at the Fantasy Jukebox, which is a very new technology to Australia and thus extremely does not work, Kalesa kicks at it one more time and then goes, "Woo! Carousing!" And Verity, standing next to her, looking deeply into the jukebox like she is willing it to work, goes, "How do you carouse?"
Now there's a question that'll get my night off to a good start. After you, lasses.
He's gonna point them to, like, is there some kind of gambling den in here? Like poker tables, something, anything?
Yeah, I think there are a few tables where people have set up games of, like, poker, Three Dragon Ante, such and such.
Okay, the captain has no proficiency in gaming sets, so he's gonna let Kalesa pick where we're going.
You express this information to Kalesa. She looks out over the gambling floor. And then a slow smile starts to spread over her face, and she goes, "Oh, they have a rack and ruin table." And then makes a beeline.
Yeah, following her, he's gonna grab Verity to make sure she doesn't wander off.
Kalesa leads you across this bar towards the gambling tables, past the table you were just at, where Zed is now, it appears, desperately trying to get sympathy from Mia, who is just sipping their drink and ignoring him. And Kalessa walks straight to a gambling table where people are playing what appears to be some kind of dice game.
I mean, would the captain know what Rack and Ruin is? Do you want me to roll for that, or?
Yeah, roll a history check.
Oh no, history's int-based, and he has a -2. Okay, bestie. 4.
You've heard the name. It is also Sabine's game, you've gathered. But you only know that because she played it once with Boots and they almost came to blows. It was subsequently barred from the ship.
I'm sorry, did you say that Boots almost got violent?
Yeah, that's why it wasn't allowed on the ship anymore. That's how bad it was.
The captain looks down at this table and under his breath goes, "Ah, shite. I don't think he has any idea how to play. He's just gonna watch a couple rounds and see if he can pick it up."
Kalessa slaps a couple gold coins down on this table and picks up a set of dice. I'm gonna have you roll for her. And I'll explain the rules as we go. So roll me 2d6, please.
7.
Don't add them together. Can you please tell me what is on each die?
That would be a 1 and a 6.
Okay, so if you have a 1 on a die, that is either a 1 or a 10. Kalessa looks at these dice and then looks up at the person running the table and says, "Hit." Roll me another d6.
1.
Kalessa looks at the person running the table again and says, "Hit." The person running the table slides her another die. Roll another d6, please.
3, so that's a total of 11.
Kalessa nods and then says, "Stay." So, for the benefit of you and the listeners, Barry, basically what you are playing is blackjack. The objective is to get 12 on the dice. A 1 can be a 1 or a 10. And just like with blackjack, if you go over, then you're done. And with Kalessa's proficiency with dice, if you go over, I will let you re-roll the d6. 1 time. Captain, you see a couple other people playing at this table. You see a snooty-looking Asturian gentleman and a woman that appears to be an infernal elf like Verity or Fee. The Asturian gentleman is going to roll 2d6, see what he gets. Snake Eyes, okay, that's an 11. He looks up at the dealer and says, "Stay." And then this infernal elf woman is gonna roll. It's a 5 and a 4. She looks up at the dealer and says, "Hit." That's a 5, she busts. And then I'm gonna roll for the dealer. That is a 12. Everybody else is out. Kalessa and the Asturian gentleman on her left both groan, and Kalessa slides her 3 coins across the table to the dealer, and then pulls out 3 more.
The captain reaches out and pats her on the shoulder. "Can't win 'em all, lass. Verity, you in?"
Verity tilts her head and says, "I don't understand what the objective is."
Well, it's you offer up some money as a bet, and if you win, you get everyone else's money. So, it's fun.
Verity looks more confused, not less.
I kind of don't understand money. I thought it was a necessary evil that you traded for goods and services because we live in a capitalist hellscape. So I don't really understand why spending it is fun.
Lass, have you ever just felt really dead inside? And you'd give anything for just a little bit of a thrill?
I mean, yeah, but usually when I feel like that, I just go outside.
Aye, when normal people feel like that, we gamble.
Verity nods sagely and then says,
That seems like a problem you should talk to somebody about.
Oh, I've got a whole host of those. At any rate, these people are gonna rub you blind. How about you just be my good luck charm?
Seriously, be my good luck charm. Cast guidance on me now.
She does that as subtly as humanly possible. Mechanically, I'm gonna say how that works is you get to hold a d4, and you can roll it and either add or subtract it from your total. So if you bust, you can subtract it to get under 12, and if you're way under, you can add it to see if you can get up to 12.
Okay, works for me. So it's me, Kalessa, these two other people in the dealer playing?
Yep.
Astrarians offend the captain's sensibility. Forget the fact that he's married to two of them. He's gonna throw down like 20 gold as a bet.
Okay. Everybody sees you do this, and then, including Kalessa, the other three people at this table all look at each other, and Kalessa tosses down 10 extra gold. This snooty-looking Astrarian gentleman rolls his eyes, but also puts 10 more in, on top of the 5 that he already had on the table. And the infernal elf woman looks a little panicked and just puts in an extra 2. So she's got about 6 on the table.
Right then. Who's going first?
I'm gonna roll for the infernal elf woman first. Snake eyes. So that's an 11. She looks up at the dealer and just like frantically makes a throat cutting motion and says, "Stay." And then I'm gonna roll for the snooty Astrarian gentleman. That's a 1 and a 3, so that's a 4. He looks up at the dealer and says, "Hit." That's another 3, so that's 7. He looks up at the dealer again and says, "Hit." One more time. The dealer slides him another d6. That is another 3. That's a 10. The infernal elf woman got an 11. He looks up at the dealer and says, "Hit." That is exactly a 12. So he looks up with a smug smile and says, "Stay." I'm gonna get you now to roll for Kalessa.
Kalessa's first roll is 2 4s, that's an 8.
She looks at the dealer and says, "Hit." And he slides her another d6.
Yeah, I mean, what has she got to lose? Ooh, 6, bust.
Because of Kalessa's proficiency in dice sets, you get to roll that d6 again and see if it's under a 12.
No, I rolled a 6 again. She busts with the exact same amount again.
Kalessa puts her head in her hands. And then I'm gonna need you to roll for the captain.
A 4 and a 3, that's a 7. What has he got to lose? He looks up at the dealer and goes, "Right, hit."
The dealer slides you another d6. Roll it.
I'm up to 11 now. That was another 4. I've still got that guidance in my back pocket.
Go ahead and hit me again, lad.
The dealer gives you a kind of "are you fucking sure" look, but then slides you a d6.
Ugh! I rolled a 2. So that's a 13. I just barely busted. I'm going to use my guidance to roll a d4 and see if I can literally lose 1. I did it. I rolled a 1. So Snooty McFancypants and I both have 12 right now.
So you roll this d6, and it is tipping towards the 2 and just about to roll over onto it when it rolls back onto a 1.
The captain looks over at the snooty guy, smirks, winks, and goes,
I'll stay, thanks.
Okay, and now we roll for the dealer. 1 and a 3. And a 4, so that is an 8. 1 more. That's an 11. The dealer stays, so the captain and the snooty Astrarian gentleman both rolled 12s. The dealer nods and says, "Alright, so that's going to be a tiebreaker for the pot." So the snooty Astrarian gentleman, squinting at you suspiciously, is going to roll again. That's a 5 and a 3. So he looks up at the dealer and says, "Hit." That is another 3, so that's 11. He looks up at the dealer and through gritted teeth, he says, "Stay." And now it's the captain's turn.
The captain looks around at everybody else, and then back to Verity, and then back to everybody else. Well, I hope you fine folk will indulge me in my backwards Zephyroil superstitions, but the fair lassier's good luck. Verity, blow on the dice.
Verity looks at you for a second, confused. I'm gonna roll insight. Natural 19. Okay. She, as subtly as she can, casts guidance under the table again as she blows on the dice.
Do I get to hold a d4 again?
Yes, you do.
Fuck yeah, okay. It's an 8, so a 6 and a 2. I hit.
The dealer slides you a d6.
I rolled a 3, that's an 11. I'm gonna see if I can hit another 1 on this d4. Yes! Perfect 12, baby! Perfect 12!
Okay. This third d6 rolls across the table. It settles on a 3 and then flips fully over to a 4, which is on the other side of the d6. So you get slid all of this money, and then the snooty Australian gentleman shoots up from his chair, points at you, and says, "He's cheating and you saw it!" to the dealer.
Well, I'd love to hear how you think I'm cheating. I'm rolling the bones the house gave me. It's not like they're weighted.
This guy gives you a venomous look and says, "The die flipped over."
Windows open, there's a cross breeze.
This Australian elven gentleman makes an incoherent sound of rage and then raises one hand and snaps. And 3 large Australian elven men stand up from a table by the bar and walk over to flank him.
Ah, shite.
Kalesa stands up from the table, both hands raised, and goes, fellas, let's all calm it down." And this fancy gentleman says, "Shut up!"
The captain's eyes get really wide.
Oh, sonny boy, you're about to regret saying that.
Kalesa had stood up with a big smile on her face, trying to calm everybody down, but she stops, tilts her head at this guy, and says, "Okay, so it's like that?" And then she pulls out one of her knives.
Oh no!
One of these big guys lunges at her. Everybody roll initiative.
Oh! Okay. The captain has a 23 to initiative.
Okay, I'm gonna be running our team and this snooty gentleman. So I'm gonna roll for Zed first. Natural 17, which is a 22 because he gets a +5. So does Kalesa, so I'm gonna roll for her. 16 on the die, she got a 21. And then Verity gets a +2, I'm gonna roll for her. 8. So then I'm going to roll for the snooty gentleman. 11.
Okay, and then I'm gonna roll for our husky friends who all get a +3 to initiative. So that's an 8, a 20, and a 14. This person has a higher initiative bonus than Verity, so they will be going before her.
Zed stuffs the napkin he's been scribbling on into his wallet, stuffs that in his pocket, and then runs across the bar to get into this fight. Mia does not. Mia is still sitting there sipping their appletini. So first in the initiative is the captain. What are you doing?
Weirdly enough, he is not going to draw his sword, because he knows enough about Astraria to know that if he pulls a knife in all of this, he's fucked, despite what Kalesa has already done. Is there anything around that I could use to make an improvised weapon that would do the same damage as my rapier, but, like, not stab anybody dead?
Huh. Okay, there is a broom behind the bar.
Okay, the captain uses his cunning action to bonus action disengage, so he won't provoke any opportunity attacks while he's running to do this. And then he's going to use his action to run behind the bar, grab this broom, and snap it over his knee to use the broken off handle as a makeshift rapier. And that's his turn.
Are you gonna compensate the poor bar staff for breaking their broom?
The house always wins, baby. They've taken enough of Kalessa's money tonight to buy like 10 brooms.
Fair enough. Zed runs into this fray, and he's just gonna straight up headbutt one of these big enforcers. That's an unarmed strike. I'm gonna roll. That is a 13 on the die, so I'm just literally not checking the armor class on these enforcers because that's a 24 total. Yeah, so he just straight up headbutts this big enforcer. That's gonna be 1d10 plus 5 damage. That is 13 damage, and he's gonna burn a key point to do a stunning strike, so I'm gonna need you to roll a Constitution saving throw, DC 19.
That's a natural 1.
Okay, this enforcer is stunned. That means no actions, no reactions, fails dex saves, fails strength saves, and all attacks against them have advantage. Zed headbutts this person, who looks stunned and shaky, and then whirls around to look at you, goes, "Really, dude?" And then he's gonna punch another one of these enforcers, so I'm gonna roll again. Nat 20!
Mr. Stonebloom. It's kind of a goddamn shame that Leo's not here, because that was hot.
It's okay, Leo's getting this recounted to him, it's fine. So I'm gonna roll 2d10 plus 5. That is 16 plus 5 is 21 damage. And then he's gonna spend another key point to do Flurry of Blows, which means he gets 2 more attacks. So that's a dirty 20 and a 17.
Okay, these enforcers all have parry reactions, but even with a parry, meets it, beats it, roll damage.
17 plus 10 is 27.
Okay, so Zed takes this big beefy dude down from full health to 17 hit points in one round. And now we're down to Kalessa.
Okay, Kalessa's gonna cast Snare. She pulls a coil of rope out of her shoulder bag and then twirls it around her arm and throws it onto the ground, and it disappears. I need Fancy Pants to roll a dex save.
9.
That doesn't do it against Kalessa's save DC of 16. So, Fancy Pants looks down at where this rope has disappeared, and then by his ankle, he gets hoisted up into the air, like up to the ceiling, and just hangs there, upside down, yelling and flapping his arms around.
And then it's the first of our beefy boys, but because that is the one that Zed headbutted, he doesn't get to do anything this round because he's stunned until the end of Zed's next turn. So, on to the next one. Also a beefy boy, but this is the one that's down to 17 hit points, and Zed just fucking wailed on him, so he's gonna unload on Zed. So this dude reels back from having the absolute shit beaten out of him, and then grabs a beer bottle off a nearby table, breaks it off, and is gonna make 3 improvised weapon attacks on Zed. So, 1 does not hit, 1 hits, 1's a nat 20. So that's gonna be 3d4 plus 6. A whopping 13 damage to Zed.
So, Fancy Boy is gonna cast Magic Missile at 5th level, which means he gets 7 darts. He's gonna direct 4 to the captain and 3 to Kalessa. I'm gonna go ahead and roll 1d4. So, Captain takes 12 damage, Kalessa takes 9. And then as a bonus action, he's gonna try and dex save out of this fucking snare that Kalessa put him in. That's a 12, not gonna do it. The bar staff are starting to yell and, like, try to break this fight up. And then it is another one of Fancy Boy's enforcers.
Okay. This last enforcer is gonna make 3 unarmed attacks on Kalessa because she has his boss trussed up against the ceiling like a Thanksgiving turkey. Wow, so a natural 1, a 13, and a 17. So only one of those hits. Kalesa takes a grand total of 3 damage.
Kalesa looks at this guy, scoffs, and goes, "Fucking misogynist!"
As a free action, while he is busy trying to swing his snapped-off broom handle at these hooligans, the captain looks over his shoulder and yells, "Mia, a little help!"
Mia is still sipping their drink and just waves you off and yells, "Zed made me promise I wasn't gonna kill nobody."
And you're incapable of incapacitating a person without killing him?
Mia swishes their appletini glass around and says, "Darling, I am a demigod of violence. Self-restraint ain't exactly in the job description. I'm like a Pringles can. Once I pop it, just don't stop."
What in Kiva's name is a Pringle?
Mia takes another sip of their drink, muttering something that sounds suspiciously like, "Fucking hate this hell planet."
And now we're down to Verity.
Zed, back in this side room with Leo, right after his wedding, says, "Anyway, that's when shit started to get really wild."
Leo at this point has fully folded his arms on top of the table and buried his head in them. Oh, this is where it gets wild. More wild than the captain instigating a bar fight the night before our wedding.
Yeah, way more wild than that.
Okay, what happened next?
Verity casts Conjure Animals and summons 8 giant weasels into the bar. Crashing through the windows, busting down the doors, coming down the staircase from the upper levels. Just weasels the size of men. Swarming. Everyone is screaming. Tables are being flipped over. The bar staff are, like, desperately trying to calm people down. One of the weasels hit, like, a strobe light, and it's just going wild across the floor as it rolls.
Oh no!
And Verity, both arms up, looking at the carnage she is causing with these weasels, yells, "Fly, you fools!"
Oh no! Okay. Yeah, we're back at the top of the round with the captain. He's gonna use his bonus action to disengage again. And then he's gonna use his action to dash and get the fuck out of here, still holding his snapped-off broom handle.
Yeah, we're out of initiative. Everybody is just running for the door as these giant weasels start to do war dances and just flop onto the tables.
Okay, Zed, I'm gonna need you to roll me a sleight of hand check, please.
I rolled a 2 on the die. It's a 7.
Yeah, well, one of the opposing rolls was a nat 20, plus 3. Shit. Alright, your entire party groups back up and hauls ass out of this bar as these weasels that Verity has summoned start to wreak havoc. People are screaming, pouring out into the grand market square of Velunthal. It's a bad situation. It takes a couple minutes to get all of your bachelor party gathered up in this big square outside the Dragon and the Dulcimer. And Zed, once you finally do, you have a couple of blood-curdling realizations. The first is that there is no way that Leo is not gonna hear about this. And the second is that when you reach down to sort of brush yourself off after this fight, you recognize a conspicuous absence in your pocket. Your wallet is gone. And on a normal day, that would be fine. Today, it would be something that you would happily ignore because it's your bachelor party. Everybody else is supposed to be buying you drinks. You didn't lose any money. But what you did lose is the cocktail napkin that you had scribbled your wedding vows upon, that you stuffed into your wallet before you got into this fight. It's gone, man. Somebody done took it.
Zed looks up at the other members of his bachelor party and, soft, horror-stricken, says, "My vows." And then he's gonna try and look around for the people that they were just fighting with.
Okay, Zed, you need to roll a survival check for me, please.
Natural 19, that's a 24.
Damn, okay. You go hyper-vigilant as soon as you realize that you have lost your wedding vows, and catch the retreating shadows on the brick alley walls of downtown Velunthal as these Australian mafia operatives, you think, disappear into the alleys. You know what direction they're going, though. You could follow them if you wanted to.
Zed looks around his bachelor party and goes, "Alright, come on." And then he runs.
Everybody takes off after you at a brisk clip, but at your shoulder, you hear Kalessa huffing and puffing, going, "Okay, I think this is getting a little bit out of my jurisdiction. If I get any more involved in this, Eleanor's gonna kick my ass, and then Leo's gonna kick my ass. I'm gonna dip. I'm sorry."
Zed, who is much faster than all of them and is pulling out ahead, turns so he is now running backwards and yells at her, "If Leo kills me, it's your fault!" And then turns back around and keeps going.
Yeah, and if Leo kills me, I'll be dead. Bye! She peels off down a side alley and disappears, and from the back of the pack, one of the slowest people mechanically in your party, Verity, yells, "What are we looking for? I could probably track it down."
"A cocktail napkin that I wrote my fucking vows on, Verity."
Oh, the napkins. Yeah, I've got one of those in my purse. I've seen them before. I can cast a locate object. I've got this. You gotta slow down though. I can't keep up.
Zed stops, waits for her to catch up, and then hoists her onto his back.
I mean, Verity's not a small woman, and you don't have a great strength modifier.
She's short, though. That makes it easier.
That just means she's compact. I'm gonna need a strength check for you to be able to carry her at your current speed.
Fuck. Okay. That's a 16.
It was a DC 15.
Yes!
You are able to scoop Verity up on your back, piggyback style, and keep going at your current pace. The captain has his double dash from Rogue. He's keeping up with you, so is Mia. As a DM, I just need to paint y'all a picture right now. We have 3 people who, by virtue of their class, subclass features, and stats, are very fast. And Verity. All just booking it through the back alleys and streets of Velunthal. Zed is leading the pack, knowing damn well that his life and the future of his relationship are on the line. Verity is perched on his shoulders like a kid at a parade, just pointing as she casts this locate object spell. And eventually, Zed, with Verity on his shoulders, the captain and Mia all skid to a halt as they emerge from the city into the small dockside town of Hayman's Ferry, which is situated around the docks on Lake Talos. Zed, I want you to roll me a luck check. Straight D20, nothing added to it.
Okay. 13.
That is enough for you to see the group of people that you just got into this big bar fight with the folks that stole your wallet, piling into a longboat that they are swiftly rowing out onto the lake. How do you react?
Zed looks around wildly and then pauses, looks at the captain, and says, "You're a boat guy? They're on a boat. What do we do?"
The captain, who's in the middle of the biggest cardio workout he's had in a while, sort of braces both hands on his knees and leans over for a second.
Right. Find me a boat.
Zed's gonna look around for a boat.
You're engaged to the Archduke. Roll me a survival check with advantage. You've been to these docks several times before.
17.
That is enough for you to look down these docks and spot the luxurious silhouette of the royal barge, illuminated by several lanterns hanging off the dock posts.
Zed points at it, looks at the captain, and says, "Will that work?"
The captain looks at this barge. It's a pleasure barge. Like, it's not an effective sailing vessel, but it'll do. And you see him smile, big shark-like teeth glinting in the moonlight.
I reckon it will.
Back in this side room in the palace, Leo just braces both hands on the side of his head and takes a deep breath. Okay, so you're telling me that all of this happened because you lost a napkin?
Zed gives him a look and just goes, "A napkin that I gave more emotional vulnerability to than I've ever given my own mother, Leo. And I wasn't gonna remember my vows in the morning if I didn't have it."
Yeah, fine. Anyway.
Captain, these people that you had a bar fight with less than an hour ago have escaped through the city, having stolen Zed's wedding vows at his bachelor party. You cannot let this stand. He has gestured towards a magnificent barge and given you all but express permission to steal it in order to chase these people out onto the lake. It has never been more your time to shine. What do you do?
He weighs this snapped-off broom handle in his hand, very much like it is a sword. He has his sword. It's on his belt. And he turns over to Zed, smiling manically.
Remember when I asked you back in Gimtarm if you'd ever stolen a boat before?
Zed looks at you, smirks, and says, "Yeah, I remember that."
You're about to learn how, big man. Follow my lead.
And he's gonna charge off down the dock and try to commandeer this fucking boat. I don't know if there are guards. I don't know what's going on. But I have to play my character. I'm not gonna try to check for it. The captain's running in blind.
So the barge is kind of cordoned off. You could try to vault over the barrier between you and it, but it would be extremely difficult. There is a little booth that looks like it would open it, with a very old Australian man sitting in it. He is smoking a pipe. He is reading a newspaper.
You said it would be really hard to vault over these cordons?
Just from standing? No. Extremely. Like, I would make it a DC 20 acrobatics.
That's fine, I'm gonna try. He runs past Zed and Verity, goes, "You two do the talking!"
Verity, still on Zed's back, goes, roll acrobatics.
Well, the thing is that I have a plus 17 to acrobatics.
Fuck you.
So how does a 32 taste?
Okay, I was gonna have you talk to this boatman, but you do that. No, we can't negotiate with this man. So you do that. Zed and Mia are going to also have to make acrobatics checks to get over this thing now, because you did this. So you do like a double backflip over this fucking barrier, and the boatman yells, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" This old man just hobbles out of this booth and raises a wand.
Oh, shite, the old man's got magic! Run!
This old man points this wand directly at you and casts suggestion and says,
Stay off my boat!
Please make me a whiz save. Roll with advantage because this is a charm effect.
Well, I rolled 2 natural 2s, so that is a 9.
It was DC 14. You cannot go onto this boat.
The captain freezes at the bottom of the gangplank and looks back over the barrier at this old man. But I want to get on the boat.
This old man whirls around to look at the rest of your party and says,
What the hell is the meaning of this?
For the record, for the benefit of both you, Barry, and our listeners, this is meant to be the same boatman from the first episode, but I don't remember what he sounded like or what his concept was, because it's been 2 years.
He was just a normal guy in the first episode. What the fuck happened to him?
He has been aged and grizzled by Laeral Valsine, stealing his boat and setting it on fire.
Fuck.
You know what? Yeah, I'm making that canon now. Anyway, Verity gets down off of Zed's back, trying really hard to look dignified, and says,
Hi, I'm the High Priestess of Kiva. We need to borrow the boat.
She's gonna make a persuasion check. Verity has reasonable charisma. This might go okay. You know, it might go okay. That's an 11. That does not do it. This old man squints at her disbelievingly and says,
Yeah, and it's the royal barge. You're not royal, to my knowledge.
The captain, still frozen at the bottom of this gangplank, raises a finger and then points it at Zed. Aye, but the large gentleman right there will be royal in about... He checks his watch. 8 hours?
Zed says, That is a good point. I am marrying the Archduke literally tomorrow. As long as we can chase the people in that other boat. I'm gonna have Zed also roll persuasion. I'm going to give him advantage because you're assisting. That is a 14. That does not do it. This old man says,
Look, I've been burned before by people wanting to use the royal barge. You would not believe the hassling I got about it. The last one got burned down in the middle of the lake. I don't know how well you all knew of Archduke Morland's fucking reputation. It wasn't great. You ever had to explain to that guy that his boat got lit on fire because you let his son steal it in the middle of the night? And now that guy's the Archduke. I'm done. I'm fucking done. I'm calling in the guards.
Zed hefts Verity back up onto his back, and he is also going to roll an acrobatics check to get over this barrier. He's going to roll with disadvantage because he's carrying Verity. He tries real hard. He rolled a 13. So he tries to vault over this barrier, does not take a running start, almost makes it, and then just slams into it stomach first. Luckily, he has a lot of padding in that area. But he goes down with a And from further down the dock, still holding their appletini, the glass for which they have stolen from the Dragon of the Dulcimer, Miasandis says, Alright, I'm bored. They're gonna walk up to this boatman, and you see something weird happen. Their eyes glint in kind of a weird way, and they smile slow and sharp and bigger than you think they should be able to. And the shadows around them start to coil and writhe. And they look at this boatman and very sweetly say, Sugar, if you don't let us pass, I'm gonna stab you. Right in the neck.
Are they using their fucking dragon thing on this boatman?
Yeah, they're using frightful presence. I'm gonna roll a DC 19 whiz save for this guy. 16, very close. Doesn't do it. And then I'm also gonna roll a concentration check. We'll say, because he didn't take any damage, we'll say it's like a 15. For him to keep up this suggestion. No. Captain, you are free to move on to the boat.
I do so at a brisk pace.
From behind you, you hear this boatman stammering, and then Mia says, presumably to Zed, move. And then you hear a long exhale and the horrible sound of wood dissolving under acid. And then footsteps on the dock and then the gangplank as the rest of your party follow you onto this boat.
Okay, the captain is trying to run around and familiarize himself with this boat, try to figure out how to sail it. As soon as everybody's on, he's casting off.
It's a pleasure barge. It kind of sucks shit, but it's not like super slow. It's faster than a rowboat. So, in a matter of a few minutes, you do catch up to these hooligans you fought in the bar in their little dinghy.
Okay, if it's a pleasure barge, they probably have some kind of like horn or something, right? Or like, is there something I could yell into that would magnify my voice?
Oh, for sure. There's probably like an enchanted fucking loudspeaker bullshit something.
I grab that and aim it at the little dinghy. Right, gentlemen! You're about to be boarded by the Pirate King of the Zephyr Isles. Give us the napkin and no one gets hurt.
So the snooty gentleman on the boat yells, "What?" But roll intimidation.
23.
The enforcers all stop rowing.
Ah, so you've heard of me.
The snooty gentleman is yelling, "Keep going, you idiots!" But this boat has come to a standstill. What are you doing?
Shit, I don't want to metagame. I only know about this napkin from what Zed has told me, so I guess I just turn over and look at him, like, what am I supposed to do now?
Zed looks at everybody in this rowboat and goes, "Just give me my fucking wallet back, there's nothing in there. I'm getting married literally tomorrow morning. Come on." One of the guys down in the rowboat says, "Congratulations!" And the snooty gentleman says,
Do not congratulate this man, you ignoramus.
He's getting married to the Archduke.
Dead silence. One of these mafia enforcers pulls out Zed's wallet and just chucks it up onto the barge. I'm gonna roll acrobatics to see if Zed catches it. That's a 22. He does a sick catch.
Is the napkin there? If Zed doesn't check for it, I will.
Yeah, Zed opens up his wallet and checks and then goes, "Oh, thank fuck." Alright. And then he does a little two-fingered salute to the little rowboat and says, "Thank you, gentlemen. Hope you have a great night." This snooty gentleman is still yelling at these enforcers, and you watch as one of them sweep the leg Johnnies him out of the boat. And they just continue rowing to the opposite shore to the city of Estelar.
The captain swivels the royal barge around and starts sailing back to the shore, but pauses to go to the stern of the barge and lean over and shout at this drowned rat of a fancy man that is dog paddling in the lake.
My good sir, you'll always remember this day as the day you almost outgambled the captain.
And then he's gonna go back to the helm.
You all get this barge back to the docks, and standing on the docks are the boatman with his arms crossed over his chest, and about a dozen city guard.
Oh! Okay. I look at Zed.
Alright, so we can dock and deal with this, or I can have you out of the country in less than 2 hours.
Zed looks back at you and says, "I mean, I still want to go to my wedding."
The captain goes up on tiptoe and leans over until he's right next to Zed's ear.
I don't think they're here to escort you to your wedding, lad.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But this is a salvageable situation. Me fleeing the country and accidentally leaving Leo at the altar is not. As you pull up to the dock, Mia Sandis says, "Well, gentlemen, and Verity, It was nice while it lasted. And then I think they're gonna roll an acrobatics check to try to flip off the barge onto the dock. Natural 17, and they get 17 to acrobatics, so 34. Mia backwards leaps off the barge, does 2 flips in midair, and lands with the grace of a ballet dancer directly on the docks, and then just holds their hands out to the guards very calmly, still with the appletini glass in their hand. They have not spilled a drop.
Okay, well, Zed is apparently already resigned to his fate, so the captain looks over at Verity.
Are you even allowed to go to jail, lass?
Verity looks at you. She is a little tipsy. She is holding her staff with a white-knuckled grip, and she says,
I don't know what jail is.
Oh, you don't want to find out?
she nods, looks out at these guards, and says,
Are we gonna have to smash some skulls?
Are high priestesses allowed to maim people in Australia?
Verity shrugs.
I mean, they're cops, not people.
The captain shrugs back at her and hefts his snapped-off broom handle again.
Aye, right you are. And besides, I've got diplomatic immunity and I haven't been in a good fight in weeks.
Zed, on your other side, puts his head in his hands and then says, why not?
I would like to say I'm not planning to kill or otherwise grievously injure anybody just because Fee and Sabine would fucking kill me if I did. So, the captain does all he can with this broom handle, but against over a dozen guards, I don't know how much good it's gonna do.
You are trying to fight people off with your broom handle. Zed is doing what he is, with his monk subclass, specialized to do, i.e. taking on 5 people at once and punching all of them individually. Mia has delicately placed their appletini glass down on the docks, now empty, and is smoking a cigarette, handcuffed, sitting there. And we see Verity look at one of these guards, raise her staff in both hands over her head.
Back in this side room in the palace, Leo looks exhausted. Okay, so I'm caught up to where we were at the beginning of this story. What happened next? Because from what I can tell, this happened in the wee hours of the morning, and I didn't hear from you until...
I knew you'd be mad at me and I was putting off the reckoning.
He doesn't move from where he has his head in his hands, but his eyes dart up towards you. What did you think the reckoning was gonna be, honey?
I thought you were gonna give me the silent treatment. I really don't like it when you do that.
Finish the story, Zed. I guarantee you will be begging me to give you the silent treatment by the end of it.
I don't like it when you yell at me either.
So, Zed, you've been to jail before. The facility you are brought to, however, is much nicer than a lot of the sketchier locales that you have ended up in before. You and the captain and Verity and Mia are all brought into a holding cell that has sturdy bunk beds with mattresses and blankets, a very narrow window, so narrow that none of you could fit out through it, that is cracked open to let in a breeze, looking out over the outskirts of Velunthal. As the door locks behind you, one of the city guards who has escorted you into this cell sort of waves half-heartedly at you and goes, Okay, I am legally obligated to present you with this stone of far speech and give you one call to anybody you choose. Let me just lay things out for you here. I know who you are, Mr. Stonebloom. Unfortunately, you may want to bring up to your betrothed that he just passed a law that says I can't let you out of here, because now, legally in Australia, you are not allowed to leverage any political position to escape punishment under the law. I mean, hell, technically, if the Archduke himself had been there doing what all of you were doing, he'd be right here with you. Well, would he? It was his boat. Hold on.
Pal, you are extremely annoying. Please give me the stone and go away.
This dude squints at you, but then sticks his arm in through the bars and hands you the Stone of Far Speech.
Cool. Zed takes it.
And you are left alone in this holding cell with an extremely drunk Captain and Verity. Mia seems fine. They're just sitting down on one of the bottom bunks, swirling around their empty appletini glass. They look around at the rest of your party, look over at this very narrow, cracked open window, and shrug. Bye, suckers! There is a flash of light and the sound of the appletini glass shattering against the floor, and Mia's fucking gone. In their place is a small fruit fly just buzzing around. It makes one lap around the inside of this cell, flies out the window into the night, and is gone.
Zed gets up and yells out the window after this fruit fly, "You couldn't have busted down a wall?"
Verity, drunkenly rolling around on one of the top bunks, looks out the window after them and goes, "Oh yeah, I can do that. I know how to cast polymorph too. I could make us all flies." Oh, they took my crystal though. I'm sad.
Zed bonks his forehead against the wall a couple times, and then nods and says, "I'm sorry you're sad, Verity."
Thank you. That means a lot. Like, I know we've never hung out that much before now, because you think I'm annoying and you don't like when I analyze your birth chart, but I felt really included tonight. I just want you to know that.
Bonk. Bonk. Yeah. It was real nice to have you along, Verity.
I think you're bonking your head against the wall right next to the head of the bunk bed, so Verity just flops one arm over and rubs the top of your head as you continue to beat it against the wall. The captain, who is lounging on the bottom bunk that Mia was not occupying, with all of the grace and poise of somebody who has a lot of practice with being in jail, just sort of shrugs to himself, digs in his coat, lights up a pipe, and takes a long drag off of it.
Zed coughs as a little smoke blows in his face. Oh, that shit is ripe. How the fuck did they... He stops, puts both hands up, looks at Verity, and then looks at the captain. They took her crystal, but they didn't take that off of you.
The captain reaches into his overcoat and pulls out the big wallet of fake IDs that he keeps on him at all times, rifles through it for a second, and then pulls a small card out between his index and middle fingers and flashes it at you.
I've got a medical card. Or at least, someone I've killed does.
For what?
He brings the card back in front of his face and squints at it.
Glaucoma!
I'm gonna take a nap.
Okay, it's coming up on 5 a.m. You still have this Stone of Far Speech. You're taking a nap? That's your next step?
Leo's gonna be so mad at him. He is still drunk, just a little bit, and he's getting a contact high from the captain. Yes, he is taking a fucking nap, Barry.
Okay. You crash on the bottom bunk that Mia abandoned when they abandoned the rest of you, and wake up several hours later to morning light streaming through this narrow window and somebody snoring in your ear.
Zed considers his next action for a long moment, and then he pushes the captain out of the bunk.
The captain, who at some point in the night did bro cuddle you, flops down onto the floor and shoots bolt upright, shouting, "Batten down the hatches! All hands on deck!"
Dude, you gotta get that deviated septum looked at.
He grins up at you from the floor, winks, and then waves down at his open shirt to the big, iridescent horizontal scars across his chest.
I've already had all the surgical intervention I want done. I don't want a nose job. It's part of my charm.
Yeah, alright. Just keep your charm on the other side of the room from my hangover, please.
The captain snarks something back at you, but you don't hear it, because in your head, you hear the familiar ping of a sending spell arriving, followed by the fucking irate voice of your fiancé. If you're not dead, you're about to wish you were. What the fuck happened last night? You will not ruin this day for my mother.
Zed full body cringes and reaches up to, fist his hands in his hair and then sends back. It's a long story. I'll be in touch in a minute to explain. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. I love you so much. I'm sorry. And then Zed stares at the floor for a very long moment, and then says, "Oh, Leo's mad at me."
The captain, who's still on the floor, kind of looks over at you and goes, "Oh, whatever would make you think that?"
You mean besides the telepathic message that he just sent to me about how mad at me he was? That was my first clue.
I was being sarcastic. I gathered that from the look on your face. It's the same look I get when I get angry messages from Sabine.
Zed puts his head in his hands. I think his hair has come undone as he was sleeping, his ponytail is, gone. He is so hungover. He is so tired. He's probably all roughed up from the fights, plural, that he had to have last night. He just sits there for a long moment, and then says, "Okay, so I ruined my wedding. I got beat up real bad. Everything hurts, kind of a lot. I might have to flee the country because we pissed off the mafia."
Verity, up in her top bunk, is just now waking up. She makes an agonized noise and brings both hands up to clasp at her head. Aren't you getting married to the guy that's in charge of the country?
I mean, point A, Leo's only in charge as long as he has to be, he's working on not being in charge anymore, so I got an expiration date on that one. Point B, again, I ruined the wedding.
What's that proverb about missing 100% of the shots you don't take? The wedding's not ruined until it's past. What time is the wedding? Oh, by the Stormbringer, I'm supposed to officiate the wedding!
Zed nods to himself a couple times, very calmly, and then looks at the captain and says, "What do I have to bribe you with for you to knock me out and then sneak me out of the country in a box?"
Well, aside from the fact that I already offered to do that and you turned me down, because you wanted to go to your fucking wedding, I'm coming at this with a bit of a clearer head now, and if I did that, I would have Ferrora to reckon with. Ferrora coming off her brother's ruined wedding that I helped ruin. So, a brand new ship with a whole cargo hold full of unmarked platinum ingots.
You know what? Respect. And I think Zed just sits there for a very long few minutes, staring at the Stone of Far speech that was given to him last night, before finally nodding to himself and dialing into the palace.
The stone goes very warm in your hand and buzzes several times. It is, quote-unquote, ringing for well over a minute before it gives one last vibration and blazes to life in your hand, and you see the inside of the royal study. And the very young, fresh face of an apprentice wizard from the Order of Iluna, who looks extremely nervous. Royal Palace, Eldrin speaking.
Hey, kid, we both know you know who I am. Take me to the boss man.
This poor kid looks so stressed. Well, the Archduke's in hair and makeup right now and has instructed that nobody bother him or the wedding party, so...
I am the other half of the wedding.
Okay.
Look, I don't mean to yell, just...
Oh, he is fully no longer engaged with this conversation. You see through the Stone of Far Speech his feet just shuffling across the marble hallways of the palace. You hear a door open and some muffled conversation. The stone briefly flashes up to a view of the ceiling, and then settles on Leo's face. The first thing you notice is that he looks stunning. You can't see a full body view of him, it's only about from the shoulders up, but he is very clearly in elaborate robes, lots of body jewelry, chains and jewels hanging down from his circlet, his hair braided back, makeup perfect. That's all a little overshadowed by how pissed he looks.
Zed has his face in his free hand, and he just winces and says, "Alright, listen."
Very slowly, one of his eyebrows creeps up towards his hairline. I'm listening.
So, baby, here's the thing.
You can see Fee in the background of this fantasy video call trying to fuss with something on Leo's head, and he brings a hand up and bats her off. You don't ever call me baby. What the hell did you do?
Ooh, a swing and a miss for Mr. Stonebloom. I think he, cringes again just a little bit. He's trying to hide it from the camera. Alright, so, things got a little hectic last night, and we may or may not have gotten, just a little bit, just a tiny bit arrested, maybe a little.
I'm sorry. We are getting married in 3.5 hours. Zed, who all is in there with you?
Zed scrubs a hand down his face, and then looks over his shoulder into the rest of the cell, where the captain and Verity are both nursing their hangovers on the other bunk bed. Well, Mia left. They said, and I quote, "Bye, suckers," and then they turned into a fly and flew out the window. So it's just me, the captain, and Verity.
Verity? Leo looks panicked. Off camera, you hear something vague, you can't quite make it out, but then he brings one hand off and cuts off whoever's talking. Shut up, Ravane! Oh my god, Zed, that is our officiant! There are 3 fundamentally necessary elements to this wedding, 2 grooms and an officiant, and you mean to tell me that 2 of them are in... Oh my god, you are so lucky you are not here right now.
Zed puts a hand up and makes a vague gesture and says, Look, boss. It's fine. You just need to come bail us out. You just need to come bail us out.
What did you do?
Well, alright. So, we were all pretty toasty, and the captain repeated a proposition that he had made before, vis-a-vis me stealing a boat.
The captain's head snaps up from over on this bunk bed, and he puts both hands up in a what the fuck gesture. Oh, so you're blaming me now!
Zed, carefully off camera, makes a throat-slashing motion. Shut the fuck up!
As you're looking down into the Stone of Far Speech, you can see Leo just drop it to his side for a second. You see swirling, diaphanous, iridescent blue fabric and, gold chain body jewelry, but nothing of the room around it.
Oh, okay, if Leo can't see him, then Zed's gonna flip the captain off.
The captain also flips you off? And then you see the Stone of Far Speech come back up to focus on Leo's face, and he looks some unholy blend of exhausted and infuriated. You stole a... What boat did you steal, honey?
The barge.
What barge, Zed?
The one that is owned by the palace.
You stole the royal barge. You stole my boat. My boat that is also going to be your boat in 3.5 hours, supposedly.
If you want to get technical, we got arrested for assaulting a member of the city guard, and that was Verity.
What is Verity even doing there? She's the high priestess of Kiva. How does this happen?
She said she wanted to get wild.
From this top bunk, Verity just flails over onto her side in agony and goes, my head. It hurts. On the other side of the Stone of Far Speech, Leo is, actively trying to adjust his circlet and put himself back together. But he looks like a man on the edge. Yeah, and I did pass that law last week that said that regardless of political status, everybody is equal under the law. Every time I try to do something good. Okay. Here's what's gonna happen, Zed. I'm not gonna bail you out.
That seems like it would get in the way of us getting married in 3.5 hours. And then Zed looks up at the clock in this cell. How long is it before he's supposed to be getting married?
3 hours and 20 minutes.
3 hours and 20 minutes.
You heard me. I'm not coming to bail you out. You're gonna wish I had come to bail you out. Hey, Lynn!
Zed feels his heart jump into his throat and his stomach sink to his fucking shoes. He, without even thinking about it, just reflexively goes, No.
Zed, this is one of the very few times in your life that you have been fully at Leo's mercy, and both of you know it. He is still clearly talking to your mother, but he is making eye contact with you through this Stone of Far Speech.
Guess where your son is right now?
You know, Zed usually likes it when Leo's being a brat, but this situation is not good for him.
And off camera, you hear your mother's voice. You hear her laugh and say something, but you can't discern what it is. What you can discern is how deadly serious Leo's face gets in response. And then you hear a sigh. A long, suffering sigh. Followed by a few more mumbled exchanges, and then a door opening and closing, all the while Leo is staring down into this stone, not breaking eye contact.
Why? I thought you loved me. He is hamming it up just a little bit, but only just a little, because his mother's disapproval is the worst force that Zed has ever had to face, and he helped Leo fight his dad. I cannot emphasize enough, Moreland Valsine was not as bad for Zed's psyche as literally just his mom being disappointed.
Leo's face does that thing again that you're very familiar with by now, where you can tell he's trying to be pissy and contrary and upset, but he's tamping down a smile. He looks down into the Stone of Far Speech and kind of bites at his lower lip.
I do. More than anything. I will see you at the end of that aisle, you jackass.
And then he hangs up the Stone of Far Speech. Zed, several long, uncomfortable minutes pass, because you know what is coming for you. And then eventually you hear, outside of the cell, a door open, hushed conversation, the jingle of coin exchanging hands. And then your mother is there, dressed in her best, ready for a wedding, with a big leather backpack slung over her shoulder, leaning with one elbow against the doorframe of this cell. Hey, kiddo. Just want to let all of you know this is a judgment-free zone.
We both know that's not true, but I appreciate you offering not to say anything.
Your mom is trying very hard not to smirk. Well, Verity, I don't know you well enough for anything I say to have any weight behind it. Captain, I know both of your wives, and you have way worse things than me coming. And Zed? Hell, we fall back on an old mantra. It wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Zed nods. Yeah. Nobody died, nobody's maimed.
Nah, no maiming. I did hear that they fished an Australian mafia operative out of the lake this morning, though. Apparently people have been looking for him for a long time.
Damp is not maimed, and it sounds like I performed a public service.
Yeah, hope all of you are ready to go perform another one. One of the city guards unlocks this cell door, and your mom takes the backpack off her back and just sort of chucks it inside. There's a change of clothes in there for all of you. I'll be waiting outside.
Zed gets dressed for his wedding. I think he is, trying to put his hair up as he walks out.
You're ushered out into one of the carriages from the palace. You and the captain and Verity all get piled into the back. Verity is in her priestess's robes, trying to make herself look somewhat presentable, even though she is violently hungover. The captain doesn't have that much to do. He has a new shirt to change into, but that's about it. And as you're sitting in this bench seat messing with your hair, your mom actually reaches up and starts kind of raking her hands back through it and helping you fix it, which is something extremely rare.
Zed pauses, gives her a grateful nod, and starts trying to put eyeliner on.
Oh yeah, she can't help you with that.
Oh yeah, he knows. But, you know what? He has enough experience doing this with less than steady hands that he can do it in a moving carriage.
This carriage rolls up in front of the Grand Cathedral in the city center of Velunthal. The captain and Verity both pile out and go to pursue their roles in this wedding. Your mom helps you out of the back of the carriage, walks you in through the big vestibule and out to the big double doors of the sanctuary. And she stops you right outside. Reaches up, braces both hands on your shoulders, squeezes super tight, and sort of rattles you a little bit. Look, I'm way past pretending that I know what's best for you. But, good faith question. You sure you want to do this?
Zed looks at the door for a long moment and thinks about Leo trying to fight down a smile on their phone call earlier this morning. And just grins. Yeah, I'm sure.
Alright, let's do it. Your mom nods at the royal stewards that are standing on either side of these big double doors in front of the sanctuary, and they swing open. Zed, there are way more people here than you are comfortable with. Hundreds, if not over 1,000. A sea of faces that you don't know. But up at the front and scattered across the first couple rows of pews, you see people you know and love. Your family. Kalessa, who looks way better than you feel right now, is standing there in full Pirate Queen's garb, tricorn hat with a big plume in it, outfitted to match your wedding colors.
Zed gives her a glare that promises that he will not forget this.
She flinches a little bit and reaches down to squeeze at Eleonora's hand. Sabine and Fee, also standing behind the altar, look at you with a brief moment of relief before turning back over to the captain with looks of absolute malice. Ravain is standing very close to the pulpit, rubbing at Verity's back like he's trying to help her with her nausea. Fen and Mia are crowded into the corner of one of the front rows of pews, just sort of cuddling and talking amongst themselves, smiling fondly. And all of the rest of your friends, all the rest of the people that helped you save the world are around and watching. And somehow they mean more than the vast amount of people that outnumber them. And then you see Leo. He's standing in front of the pulpit at the front of this sanctuary, where Verity is still adjusting her robes and trying to look put together. You've known him long enough that you know his tells. He's nervous. He's rocking back and forth on the balls and heels of his feet, looking like he wants to start pacing, but can't. But then he looks to the side and sees you. And he breaks out into this big, genuine, crooked smile. The scarring along one side of his face pulling down at the corner of his mouth. As she gets you down to the end of the aisle, your mom sort of leans over and elbows you in the ribs. Go. Be happy.
Zed shoots her a very brief, crooked smile, and then steps up to the altar and grabs Leo's hand.
Back in the side room in the palace, Leo is still sitting with his head in his hands. Okay, and that's the full story?
Zed winces, but says, "Hey, yeah, that's pretty much it. You were there for the rest of it."
Yeah, sure was. Okay.
Zed trusts Leo and knows that most of the time when he's pissy, it is all bluster. Like, almost all of the time, it is bluster. But between ye old ADHD and past bad experiences that we've discussed on this podcast, he has to check when he has royally fucked up. So he kind of reaches back and rubs at the back of his neck and says, "You're, not really mad, right? Or disappointed or whatever?"
From where he's sitting over at this table, Leo shoots his eyes sideways over at you and tilts his head. And then he stands up. He takes a few steps across this small side room over to you and reaches up and braces both hands on either side of your face. I mean, no. But there's 1,000 and something people out there that I don't give a shit about. And maybe 20 that I do. But in here, there's one person that means everything. And I got to marry him. That's all I wanted.
Zed grins and leans down to give him a kiss. And then pulls back and says, "Alright, let's go face the wolves. 6 more months of this, right?"
Yep. 6 more months. Counting down the seconds. Leo reaches down and squeezes at your hand. But until then, there's a dance floor with our name on it.
Zed laughs and squeezes his hand back and leads his husband out of this room into their reception.
And that's where we're gonna end for this time. Anyway, they're in love.
Love them. We'll see y'all next time
On Compelled Duel. Hey everybody, Barry here with the postscript, just clearing up a couple housekeeping things here at the end of the episode. As usual, I'm going to go ahead and plug our various social medias. You can find us on Twitter, Tumblr, and TikTok at Compelled Duel. We also have a lot of other cool stuff going on. We have an official website, an official Spotify profile. You can find all of that stuff linked on our social media pages. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, we ask that you head on over to patreon.com/compelledduel and take a look at all of our cool patron perks. Starting at just $2 a month, you can get access to all sorts of things, like early access to episodes, access to special bonus content, and even exclusive clues for our upcoming new campaign. If you want to support us in ways other than pledging to the Patreon, we ask that if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that you leave us a rating and a review, because that helps get the show's name out there, helps us widen our listener base. And the easiest thing you can do to help us out, if you like what you're hearing here on Compelled Duel, is to tell a friend about it. And if they enjoy it, ask them to tell a friend as well. Word of mouth advertising is the best tool we have at our disposal. The final bonus episode of Campaign 1 will be going live on Friday, October 7th, 2022, or if you are a member of our Patreon, you will be getting access to that on Thursday, October 6th. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.